are once again at the Olympian Table. Welcome to you all. We talk about a little bit of real estate and everything
everything under the sun, right? But more important, we're talking with the original Olympian from the 1900s, right, Steve?
Actually, it was like 18 something.
Okay, I think we had just gotten independence.
It feels like it. It feels like it. There's only one problem with America. You left the Commonwealth, but there you go.
There you go. There we go.
Anyway, it's all good fun, and here we are talking about the things. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is, come on, James.
Oh, man.
What's your scoop on Brittney Spears?
Okay, so
She's got a new attorney now.
Does she?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, just so everyone understands, conservatorship is granted by a court for individuals who are, quote unquote, unable to make their own decisions. I understand that aspect when you're talking about a child, when you're talking about someone, maybe right out of adulthood. Like for instance, my sons are grown, but they're younger. They don't know everything about life, so I might be there to help them for a little while. But this woman, Brittney Spears, is how old? 30, 35, 30? I don't know. She's old enough. Too old to not be able to make her decision.
Perhaps she's a daddy's girl.
Well, I think she was a daddy's girl, but now she's daddy's cash cow. Is what I think it is. And it has been a ride for her. And for me, it's a little... we know that she's kind of had those...
Well, apparently, if a dad arranges something and she doesn't show up, then she can get sued.
Yeah, I mean...
That's just nuts.
The court just says, hey, you know what? They'll set it up. I think you can set it up for like real estate affairs and then financial affairs. So when it comes around business and you got to be somewhere, you got to be there or be square. That's it.
How does she buy a house then?
I don't know if she can on her own.
Is the dad the power of attorney to purchase a house?
Well, I think it's all layers in there as far as.
So when she gets this conservatorship sorted out, she'll be a first-time home buyer.
Now, here's the funny thing. That might be right, but I would assume that if she's buying a house, they're putting it in her name, and using her credit.
Isn't that an interesting point?
That is. That's.
Where do you live, Brittney? Let's look up the tax records.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I think Brittney Spears is worth like 50 or 60 million, her net worth. And it's like, can you imagine not really being able to
buy your own house?
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of sad. I know she made some rash decisions in the past with, shaving her head and marrying.
I don't blame her, though, if she's got somebody else.
She married that one guy overnight for like 2 days or something like that.
How can she ever be accountable and responsible if she hasn't,
Exactly. It's unfortunate. It reminds me, it's not exactly the same, but it reminds me of kind of the situation how the Jacksons were raised, right. Michael Jackson being a kid, being in show business from when you're 4 or 5 years old, become older. I mean, this dude lived in an amusement park, so you never really kind of grow up. But I think in Brittney's situation, she seems to be lucid and can make decisions. She's just not able to, according to the
I
law.
think she's actually, I know she's 35 and she's not a kid anymore, but I personally feel she's been a lot more responsible, the last 5-10 years.
Oh, correction, 39.
Wow.
She's almost 40 years old.
That is just nuts.
Yeah.
That is absolutely nuts. And that must be so frustrating for her.
Yeah, so I think with what you mentioned in this new attorney, she's basically saying her dad's abusing rights on the conservative.
I think he is.
I agree.
I think he is.
We as parents, we are responsible for our kids up to the point to where you get them to adulthood, and
but a true parent wants their kids to do well, and better than and easier than they did.
Right. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be the exact same, but you want it to be better.
But really, if you think about it, her dad is actually riding off the back of her.
Right.
And so it's like saying, you know what, your time's up, buddy. Get off the bus.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, luckily, she was able to get her own attorney because he might have been able to block that. Who knows?
I was surprised the judge came down on the side of the father.
He might be paying the judge. Who knows? Now, judges are usually ethical, I would say, but you just never know. never know if what'll happen.
Well,
with that, I think it's tragic.
Think that doesn't happen. I just couldn't understand the decision, and I'm sure that Brittney Spears was actually heartbroken.
Of course, because when you walk into a conservatorship agreement, I'm sure you don't think, okay, here I am 12, 13 years later, and now I can't even do anything.
20 years later. How old was she when she became...
I think they said that this conservatorship started in 2008. It was after she was an adult. It wasn't, he was always kind of controlling things, but I think the conservatorship didn't start until 2008.
Wasn't she a Disney kid?
Yep. On there with Justin Timberlake and some of those other ones. Yeah, she was. She absolutely was.
I wonder why she even got into that conservatorship.
I don't know, but if
she's just too busy to look at a checkbook or what?
Man, I guess you can get so caught up with just the life that's just one less thing you have to worry about. So you trust your parent to do it. And
was it because she was leading such a wild life at the time?
Could have been. She was definitely kind of out there a little bit. We've heard the stories. I don't know Brittney personally, but
the thing that I can't understand is, to me, that's a contract.
Should have a stale date.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When does it expire?
Right. I don't know. But it was some of the details that I when I was reading through it is that they would make her diet. You couldn't eat certain foods. She'd have to work like 70-hour weeks. It's like, it sounds like didn't she put out a song called "Slave for You"? Because that's what it sounds like.
No, the best song that describes her situation is "Toxic."
Or "Oops, I did it again." One or the other, man. it is not an ideal situation.
I'll never forget when I managed one of the ice rinks. The little kid, the little kids used to go to the center of the rink in a circle, and they would sing "Toxic." I'll never forget that. That sticks out in my mind.
Oh man, that's you're kind of dating yourself there on that deal. But hey,
it was good for the kids. The kids enjoyed it.
Absolutely. But yeah, so we'll just kind of keep Brittney in our prayers, and hopefully something will move in the right direction with this new attorney being appointed. Because
I hope she's successful. I do feel for her.
At 40, come on, you can't make your own decisions. That's crazy. What if she wants to stop working?
She can't at the moment.
Not under the current agreement. If there's something that he wants her to do, she has to go.
She's a white slave.
She's a slave. Yeah, I think it was something like that. Or being in Vegas and just kind of. She's working. She's still making money, but man.
Well, was she rolling too much dice on the table?
Who knows, man? She's rolling something.
I still feel for her, to be perfectly honest, to put in that position, because when I was an Olympian, I made pretty good money when I turned pro in '84. But the problem is, one of the guys, I don't want to mention his name, but one of the guys that was on the Olympic circuit, he made really good money in 1984, and by 1987 it had all gone.
Really? So he
spent his money on fast cars, hookers, and the drugs. He was working internationally. He wasn't working in the UK. But as an Olympian, do you have to have like an agent or intermediary or something in that situation, or is it a choice? It's not big enough for that. It really isn't. It's not as big, and you're not making the millions and millions of dollars that
you got to pay those guys.
Somebody like Brittney Spears makes. But in all fairness, a lot of these pop stars, I really feel they need minders, they need managers, but they should employ professional people. Part of the whole thing about being a success is putting good people around you that do a good and efficient job. Because it's a dad, does it make him the best to manage her business?
Nope.
I've experienced that in the ice skating world, but nothing to the level of Brittney Spears.
Yeah,
there's a well-known skater again that I'm not going to mention that I came over from England to help manage, but the father got involved, and to be perfectly honest, I said, I'm off. just a waste of time. It's
Yeah.
like fighting the wave. So I, to a certain degree, understand how Brittney Spears feels, but it's very frustrating. It must be frustrating if you're 39 years old.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know.
Well, again,
Has she got any kids?
Oh yeah, she
Them
definitely
are the
has
people
kids.
that I feel sorry for as
Yeah.
well, to be perfectly honest, because, you know, all that's...
Because she was married to that Kevin Federline guy. I think she had kids with him, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
I think Brittney's a beautiful girl. I really do.
Oh yeah.
You know, absolutely beautiful girl. Oh, and I, to a certain degree, I think she's actually, well, not to a certain degree, but I think she's actually matured a lot. You know, the last 10 years, we don't really see her in the news too much.
Yeah.
You know, for doing silly
Well, I mean,
stuff.
with this kind of cover over her, probably couldn't see her doing too much because she was so insulated. But hopefully she'll get it right.
Absolutely.
This
Well, I think
time.
she will. I mean, give her the chance. I mean, give her a bit of trust in herself.
Yeah, I agree.
And let her make her own mistakes, because that's the only way you learn is by making mistakes.
Absolutely.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
with that being said, you know, we wish Brittney well. And
Yes.
you know, I'd actually like to meet Brittney. That'd be pretty cool. Meet somebody, you know. Really, really cool. So Brittney, we invite you to the Olympian Table sometime. Anyway, get your legal case sorted out first. Then you can tell us the frustrations. We invite you to the table.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we're going to move on now. We're basically going to talk about. I don't know if James want to start this off about the lab leak.
Yeah, so I guess there was always kind of talk about this whole COVID
The lab
deal
leak.
and it being, I guess, manufactured and it got from this Wuhan lab. That's kind of been a big talk of it being it's been a theory, but people are kind of taking it more seriously now. And I don't know if it's just been a matter of there just being more evidence uncovering, but in recent weeks, it's just kind of been
We're talking about COVID-19.
COVID-19,
Let's
yeah,
sort of get it out
absolutely.
there.
It's been a conspiracy theory of sorts, but it's been getting some traction. And now they are investigating some truth that'll look into kind of the origin of this disease. And, you know, Biden's on board with that. So I say, hey, kudos to find out, you know, what happens. Now, it's kind of one of those coulda, woulda, shouldas. You know, you find out where it happened. What do you do? Okay, but at least we'll know kind of where it came from. Or I have an idea.
I personally think that this was something Chinese caring to use just exactly how it ended up happening. You just imagine if you could, why have nuclear weapons if you could have a disease you can push into every country as easy as it got into every country. All right? How it could put China in a position of economic betterment just by pushing that disease out. And what I think happened is it got out a little bit too soon to what they planned.
It leaked.
It leaked.
It leaked. Well,
and then it sort of kicked back on them because maybe they was developing that COVID and also trying to develop a vaccine at the same time in case it came into China. Because I'll be honest with you, there's some things in China that I think they do much better than in the USA and and also in Europe. I think their infrastructure is really good. The crime rates are low, but at the same time, I don't trust them as far as I'm concerned.
Of course, because I mean, you think about where the virus was first recorded in Wuhan. This lab supposedly is only about a 40-minute drive or so from that wet market that they were talking about. It came from these bats or whatever it is. So it's believable that it could have happened in that lab and it leaked out.
And one of the other parts that I think is sort of plays into China's hand, to be perfectly honest, is when it came over here to the USA, it became a political issue. which personally I don't think should have happened. But all that's doing is playing directly into somebody like China's hand.
Right.
Because they are, communist country. People do as they're told. They don't ask questions. So, is that an Achilles heel for the US? If you've got a disease going through everything, I mean, a lot of people now don't even trust the vaccine.
Sure.
I got vaccinated, but the truth of the matter is, my wife, who's a doctor at the University of Texas, I mean, she assures me that it's worthwhile taking. 95% success rate. There are side effects, but there's side effects to every medicine.
Well, in 10 years when y'all all turn into zombies, we'll see what happens with
But I really think, and you just think about how long did it take to develop the virus, and they pushed the virus, the vaccine. How long did that take to develop? Look how many people died. I think it's a very discreet way of sabotaging a country. I really do. By introducing
it can happen.
A disease like that. I mean, worldwide, look how many people.
So, with all of that said, can we agree that Donald Trump might have been onto something? Of this being the Chinese Wuhan virus?
Go after me.
You don't have to admit it. You don't have to admit it.
No,
I'm not saying his delivery was right.
In all fairness, I do. But I think that when it did, it might have been a little bit too early. To me, I'd like to see some facts. But the problem, problem is, how do you get them facts out of China?
It was an assumption. It was all a theory.
No, in all fairness to him and Mr. Trump, I do believe that he was onto something. But
he let the ball slip though when he said he knew it was worse than it was, and he was playing it off.
Yeah, I agree. That's a very good point, Jack.
And yes, say in theory, China does leak a virus. China recovered from it super quickly,
super fast,
like record speed.
Even if it came, they had a remedy.
So was they ahead on the vaccine?
Well, it wasn't the vaccines though. It's because the people listened to the government when they said stay home and blah 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 blah. Put the mask on, whatever.
There was no option.
They listened. Yeah, there was. So that's another thing is there was no option. So there's a good side and bad side of that because communism, that's very hard. It's not even real communism, strict communism.
Right.
So there's a plus in it.
No, I agree with that.
I do think he was onto something there. But what you say, Jack, is actually very evident, I think. And he did play it down. I think his reaction to the virus could have been a lot better. We all know that now.
I think if he would have taken one of those economy-sized jumbo rolls of duct tape and just kind of wrapped it around his mouth, that would have been, a perfect.
Can you imagine looking at the President of the United States with duct tape around his mouth?
He just couldn't stop talking sometime. That was his biggest biggest issue.
I do. I take that. But at the same time, I do feel with the resources to him, he could have. And then, of course, what you've done is you've got a party that's basically saying it's your freedom whether I should wear a mask or not. And I don't think that supports the purpose.
And that does not take away that fact. It is true, but if we want to get past it,
I agree.
We want to get past it, and shoot, Wuhan has started there first, and they were the first to get it all cleared up. These are the kind of things that we got to do. But again,
and they reckon it's on the rise again. I know in the UK it's on the rise.
I think this whole Delta variant here has been kind of pushing it in a different direction.
And in all fairness to Fauci, he said that as it goes on more, what will happen is there will be different strains of the virus that will basically combat the
Right.
vaccine. Because what happens is the vaccine naturally looks at taking on the the different virus. But and the countries like India are really struggling because everybody's so close together.
That's because it's of the 8 billion people in the world, it's like 7 billion are there. It's ridiculous.
I just spoke to somebody actually that went to India, and he was telling me a story that when he went to India, they sell tickets for the train. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know this at the time, but I made so much fun of him. But he said, you can pay to go on the train inside, or you can pay to stand on the roof.
What?
Yeah, because the trains are so full, people stand on the roof.
On the roof? So there can't be tunnels. Oh my goodness!
You never seen one?
No, bro.
That's basically what they do. They pay to go on the roof, and they also pay to go in the train. I used to think,
wow.
I used to think, it's free. Look, see, good old BBC. Anybody wants to know the truth, forget CNN, forgets Fox News, go to BBC News.
Okay, so first of all, I would think, just in terms of weight balancing, that would be an issue.
Them trains are British built. They'll take anything.
Man,
I doubt safety is there anywhere on the...
Obviously not.
Yeah.
Safety is not the first, oh my goodness, priority.
You never seen this?
No, I have not seen that. I have not. Now, I've been on the train.
One of my best friends in England is actually Indian. He's got a load of Indian restaurants.
I've been on the train in Japan, and it was crowded. I mean, ridiculously crowded.
Did you go on that super train, that fast train?
Yeah, actually, the fast train, we took the fast train from Paris to, it was in Europe. We took from Paris to Barcelona. That was an experience. That was kind of fun. But yeah, this I've never seen, man. 23 million passengers every day.
Yep.
Wow.
So
more people than in Houston.
Man, 23 million. Yeah, we don't have 23 million here.
5 million here.
Yeah, that's in the city.
That's like 4x.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Of course, we.
I think we also. I'm going to add this to the list so we don't talk about it now, but we need to talk about the Dallas.
The fast train.
Oh yeah, the fast train.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that.
It's been in the talks for a while. Yeah, we'll get a little bit of some research and do that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
cool.
Yeah, so we're going to move on again, and let's talk a little bit about the couple who are blaming Tesla over solar panels.
I think you brought this up. I hadn't heard about it. So then you were mentioning something about this
and they're blowing
up,
and they're locked in a legal battle.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. But apparently there's a couple who are blaming, and I didn't know Tesla even had solar panels.
Well, I did know they had solar panels because there was some commercial or something that I've been seeing kind of floating around on social media about it, and the power box. I remember them putting it up on the wall, and it said Tesla. So that's what let me know. That was like a year or two ago that I heard about it. But I think was it a class action lawsuit or something, or is it just somebody's house burned down? Is that what the issue was with it?
What?
They bought a house with the
No, married couple, Jamie Fedorko and Sabrina Ferreira bought a house in 2019 that had a Tesla solar panels installed. So the charge box for a solar is...
So they're expensive, but the deal is, the idea behind it is that you'll generate enough electricity or power from it that you pour back into the grid, and you can start getting your electricity for free, so you get like a credit towards your bill. But they're expensive.
Some people say some horrible things about what's his name, the Tesla guy,
Elon Musk.
Yeah, but he's such a smart.
Well, here's
he really is.
Is he though?
Jack's laughing.
Is he though?
Is he smart?
I think he's forward thinking myself.
He's definitely brighter than most of us, but I don't think he's as smart or as business motivated as we think he is.
Yeah, I think there's a different angle toward it in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you figure out how he started off his success. His parents had a lot to do with it.
Gotcha. One of those. He took a small loan out from his father.
$1 million. Were his parents wealthy?
Oh, his parents were like some of the richest people in South Africa, and they found I think it was an emerald mine, and he started his first business venture was he was flipping these emeralds to it's one of these like AAA women's designers.
Really,
jewelry
I
businesses.
was reading an article the other day, and I need to sort of clarify this, but by all accounts, there's how they make batteries. They need it to make unlimited batteries, and there's a big move in Germany for electric cars, because a lot of cars in Europe are going electric they reckon by 2025, and they reckon that all new cars will be all electric by 2030. And what they're doing is they're mining in South America, but they're mining under salt lakes this particular I think what it's called. But basically what they're doing is they're mining what are electric batteries?
Electric batteries for the cars?
Yeah, there's a metal.
It's the lithium.
Lithium,
Oh,
that's
lithium,
right, lithium. It's all right. That's one of my brain farts. But basically what they're doing is they're getting this lithium from like under the salt lakes. But what they're doing, a lot of environmentalists now are coming through and saying, okay, you're saving electric from one side, but then you're taking it away
right.
from, and they're poorer countries. They're talking about South American countries. I think
right.
Bolivia was one of them.
Also, have you ever seen that tweet where he joked about starting a coup in Bolivia to get the lithium?
Well, he did. He succeeded, because that's basically what happened. They got rid of the president.
Well, he said it was a joke, but either way, it's like that's like Trump tweeting about January 6th
right.
and saying it's a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were going to do it.
But what the environmentalists are saying is they're digging up all this lithium, which is under the salt lakes. They're exporting it out to Germany, which is, a much wealthier country. It's not really helping the local people of Bolivia,
sure.
because they're a German company that's mining it. And then what happened was the old president, and when there was a coup or whatever you want to call him, was, he was taking all the money. He was, got caught with his pants down, I guess. But from an environmental point, it's like, yeah, okay, you might be helping the environment, but you're ruining it on another part.
Right.
And I think that's the part that people have got to be aware of. I do think we need to worry about our climate, but at the same time, I think people need to look at more factors.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem in this particular case, with aside from these solar panels and causing leaks and mold and that kind of deal, I think some of the grumblings have been that the price is kind of been like a bait and switch kind of deal. Like you order them for certain price, and by the time it's time for you to get them installed, they've increased the price on it, even though you've signed at a lower amount. I think it was a professor somewhere in California that was the lawsuit that they filed, because there has been more than one person that's gone through that. He signed one day, like on a weekend, and then the next week he opens his account and it's like double the price. You can't do that to people.
I like to feel that I'm green, and we looked at getting this was about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a company out there. We looked at getting solar panels on our house, and they basically said that, yeah, you could use the electric during the daytime, but at night time it goes back onto the grid. But the money that the electric that you generate, obviously you can push into the grid because we're not home or
right.
everything else. So, and then I said, well, how about buying a battery? Could we get it? So we bought a battery. Well, the battery was ridiculously expensive. I mean, we're talking $10,000 for the battery.
Right.
And then basically the electric could run out. So you're in a position, to be perfectly honest, that it doesn't make sense. Now there's a new system where they put the solar panels in for free, but the company own the electric, so you use what electric you want, and whatever's left they actually sell to the grid.
Yeah.
And one of the companies that we didn't really want to do it, but I listened. I mean, they're talking about a 15-year buyout, or even, I know the buyout's a pretty long time.
It has its benefits because I know when we went through that freeze here, some people were saying how it pretty much saved them because in the daytime it would charge everything up, and then at night they could run off the panels and they still had electricity. So I guess it has its benefits.
In Europe, there's a lot of solar panels. I mean, you drive an area, you'll see the solar panels on the roof. You really do see a lot.
I have a lot in my neighborhood.
And there's new ones now that look like a tile. It literally looks like a Mediterranean tile, and there's another one where it looks like a composite roof. I'm a big, I think it's something that needs to happen, to be perfectly honest. I mean, things like that is good, but the feeling I get is you've got to run it instantly.
Yeah.
And until they develop a battery that you can charge up and use it.
I'll say if he continues this track with the hiking the price on people, though, folks won't get on board with that. I mean, you can't do that to people,
and
multiple folks.
Also, Biden just passed this right to repair law. I don't know if he passed it or he's trying to pass it. But it's basically something where I don't know if it's like a law or what kind of document it is, but companies can't block you from repairing their devices. So like if you buy a Tesla, you're not allowed to take it to a third party. Like they don't provide you can't go to Chimney Rock Car Care for them to fix your Tesla. You have to bring Tesla to come out. So he's trying to fix that. And there's a story about a guy who got a Tesla and like his charging port where you plug in the Tesla was like worn, and it's like a $400 fix, and they quoted him like $3,000 for it.
What?
And so he just fixed it himself for $400, and he was like, "This is why you need to be able to repair or like have the competitive market of repairing."
That's exactly right.
That goes for the solar panels on your roofs and everything, because they'll eat that up because they're the only ones who can understand that to an extent.
Exactly. Man,
it's that competition that drives down the price. I mean,
absolutely.
That's part of the thing I thought that that was driving, America, to be perfectly honest, was, that capitalism approach of, having a bit of competition. That's sort of interesting, really. All right, let's get on to the part that I'm really looking forward to. It's been an interesting week, and
This is that
yeah. I think we were talking about
the baby. So he was just in his van, his Sprinter van, on the side of like New York, I think, and these two kids came up to him selling him candy. You know how like AAU teams would sell candy for like fundraisers?
Yeah.
So they're selling him candy, and y'all just watch. And so there's a lot of people talking about should he have just given them the money, because this guy's a millionaire. So let's see what you guys think.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Hey, you got a good generation donation.
Yeah, we got that shot.
Skittles.
What you want for the box?
200.
200.
Yeah, 200. I mean,
What
like
you charge for? What you charge for?
$2. I mean, like $4.
$2, so add this up. How is 200?
I make $4 every day off donation.
How much you want for your box? These niggas.
I'm gonna say one for the box.
200.
And then they said it's $2 each.
And I got
So let's count. Let's count.
It's 34 times.
Yeah, exactly. What's 34 times 2, my boy? It ain't 200. It ain't $2 nothing. It ain't even $100. $68. What about you?
I'm making 200.
See, look, see. You give me 1, 2. What they, $2 a piece? Dollar each, down in there. You gotta use your head, man. You trying to play, but I'm gonna bless you anyway. You got the 200.
That would have been less work for them to sell all that.
Goodness.
Look, they pissed. Look, they got me fucked up.
They would get $200 for the box.
Yeah, so people were saying he should have just given them, because like he knows that obviously they're in a shittier situation, but it's like This is business, you know.
Okay, so here's my deal.
Learn math.
People
go to school and learn math.
People who are not in your wallet always want to direct the money in your wallet. It's like, don't tell me what I should have done.
They're learning capitalists.
No, they're trying to rip me. Here's my thought with that. When you go to a restaurant and
Actually,
you have
before we go any further, I just want to say one thing.
What?
I wish I had a roll of cash in my hand like he had his
Me
hand.
too. When I go to a restaurant and you got a group of people, let's say you got 6 or more people, they'll throw in the gratuity on the bill, right? For me, and of course, you know that it kind of varies. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 8. I always would tip more than what the gratuity asks for. But when I get the bill and the gratuity's there, I just let them roll with it. So they almost end up cutting themselves off because I would have given more anyway. And in this situation, these guys, they see that it's him. They're trying to be greedy. At least say, hey, man, I'm trying to sell, blah, blah, blah. I only have so-and-so left. If you want to sell the whole box, sell the whole box. But don't upcharge. I mean, from $68 to $200. Come on, man. That's highway robbery. Whether I'm a millionaire or not, that's
future
not cool.
capitalists.
No, they're future crooks.
Future capitalists.
They're future crooks. Man, that's crazy. I don't blame him. He's like, you know what? I'm still going to support your business, but I'm only buying one.
They're just doing what corporate America does. That's all.
That doesn't make it right. That is, hey, you know what? It's a lesson learned. Because that could have been done for the day. Yeah. And you could tell the second dude, he just didn't want to be outdone. He was just like, yeah, I'm selling mine 200 too. I would be like, man, $50. You want the whole box?
Normally when you buy in bulk, you get a discount.
Yes, normally you do. That's why I would have said $50. I'll take the hit on the deal. Because that box didn't look full anyways. They had already sold something out of there. So, man, that's you cut off your blessings, man. Trying to rip people off, you cut off your blessings.
There's some negotiation skills because that's what the more senior half of that one.
That's what it's about for sure. All right, so you say the thing you want to talk about.
Yeah, we get it. Are we moving on?
Oh, man.
Are we moving on?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
That's good.
Let's talk about it.
So, can your landlord raise the rent now that the market is creeping back up? Pardon
Bless
me.
you.
And the answer is, in Texas, they can charge whatever they want.
Well,
and I have to tell you this, James. I know that you do the loans, but as a landlord and seeing things in the house, seeing things in the market, as the owner of Century 21 Olympian, I've got to tell you, we've had offers on houses. We've had 120 offers on a house. One of the offers was $70,000 above the list price. Now it's starting to affect the rental market, and it's so difficult for people now to even find a rental.
All right.
So what are the landlords going to do?
They're going to keep it going.
They're going to start putting the rents up.
Oh yeah. Well, it's already up. There's an apartment complex not too far from it's about 12, 13 miles from the house. But they advertise that it's a new luxury apartment. First of all, the rents start at $1,650.
Wow.
What would you think the size of the apartment is? If you had to guess. It's in
only
Pearland.
because you're asking me the question. 800 or 1,000 square feet? 642
square feet is where it starts.
It doesn't surprise me.
That's like a hotel room. I mean, that's the nice little hotel room. $1,645 that they're starting off at that amount. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's like a studio.
Yeah, and we had a situation with one of our agents called yesterday, and basically, said that keeping it very short, that somebody that we put in a property 2 months ago, and we've even taken attorney's advice, has basically said that the landlord has been harassing, is the best way to put it. The tenant that we put in wanted to look at the property all the time. We found out that they've got security cameras on the outside of the property. Calling up, wants to view the property. I mean, I just think it's harassment anyway. That's just
wow.
me. So, I always say that There's still good landlords and bad landlords, but there are some good landlords out there. But yeah, they're having a tough time.
Well, let me ask you this.
And they're at the higher end. That they're paying $3,200 a month. They're actually
that's a house.
They work for one of the consulates in Houston.
Okay. Well, they're probably not paying it. They work for the consulate. But nevertheless, it's too high.
And it is still
too high. As an agent, is there any room to even negotiate on a lease?
Well, it depends how many offers on the lease. We've had leases that have actually gone for above what they've been on the MLS.
Really? So negotiation is possible, but it doesn't necessarily work in your favor. It could be more if there's multiple offers.
And a lot of it depends on, to be perfectly honest, if you've got a good agent, I think there's a lot of poor agents out there that can do our industry better. But at the same time, I always recommend to everybody to go to a national branded company. I think national brands have a higher level of I think it's ethics, and if not, they should do. But because the training is available with a lot of the national franchises. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, it's every case is different. Every instance is different.
Hey, I'll say you send me an application on my rental that I've had for like 500 days. It's negotiable.
Right?
that sucker's negotiable.
It definitely is. I agree with that. And I would also say, to your point, you said using a national company, but at least don't try to go it alone. I mean, so some folks, I think they try to backdoor. I'm going to call the landlord directly, and that doesn't work.
I just want to state something. I don't believe in rent control, to be perfectly honest. What I really believe on is implementing rental standards.
So if you charge a certain amount, you got to make sure you keep it to this.
I don't think it's a case of an amount. I think there's definitely standards that are required. All right.
On the landlord, you mean?
On the landlord.
Okay,
I
got you.
One of the things I'm saying to that is, we have a program in Houston called Section 8, and there's also a Harris County program. And a lot of landlords and real estate agents don't want to even deal with that program because it's too much, hard work and hassle. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of landlords don't want to deal with that because they have, a safety check. Well, them are the landlords you don't want to deal with anyway. Why is it they don't want to deal with a check? Why is it they don't want somebody coming in every 12 months? Are they a slumlord? I'm not saying that they are, but in all fairness, we've never had a problem. I think it's a fabulous program for the lower end people. We've maybe had a problem once, but it's guaranteed money coming in. During the pandemic and COVID-19, the ones that were at Section 8 tenants guess what? Their rent chips keep coming in.
Oh yeah, and they will. Because they're going to get paid.
There's good and bad in every situation.
I was going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off. The ultimate thing is just realizing that, because I agree with you about the rental standards, but just realizing that once your lease expires, they can go up. They can go up to whatever price they want to.
There's no cap on that.
There's
no cap at all.
So it's for Texas specifically. I mean, there's no cap. So it's just kind of one of those things where you have to be careful. And I say prepare yourself for that increase, because it's ultimately it's going to happen.
So let me ask you a question that sort of feeds off the back of this. If rents are actually increasing, there gets a point that if the lenders and the finance industry could really react to people and help them, there is a point where you've got the rent is expensive, so you're better off buying and helping first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, something that the government should start to help with, and also the finance industry should deal with. Now, one of the programs that I found out that they do in England, which I think is a pretty ingenious idea, but what they do is you buy half of a house. So you finance half of it, and then you pay rent for the other half, which lowers your payment. And then what happens is, if you want to sell the house at all right, then you sell the house for whatever it is, say 100,000. Then your half is paid off, so you get in equity in the property, and then that 50,000 what's left goes back into the pot, which is for the government. But you do have option to buy that other half. But if you're paying, you understand, if you're paying that down.
So let's say if you pay off that first, let's just call it a first lien, the part you're buying, the half.
Right.
If you pay that off and it's done, then you can start paying on the other half. Is that how it works?
So because what's happened is the homes have become so expensive that a lot of people, with the wages they're paying, it's the same problem as it over here.
That's the only way for affordability.
Right. So what it's doing, it's giving people the option to buy homes that way. I think personally, if it was me in that position, I would rather do that. I mean, the houses are fully maintained by the person that's got the mortgage. It would be up to me to maintain that home.
So as a seller or landlord in that case.
Well, the landlord's the local county council or whatever.
Oh, okay. So it's not an individual.
No.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the truth of
different.
But the truth of the matter is, it's like like with Section 8, what are they doing? It's costing them money to keep somebody in a house. So is it better off and reducing their fees even?
That's a different way to look at it. That's similar to the shift, and that's in Europe, you say, right? So that Japan had a
they're giving you money to move over there.
Had a similar deal, right? Because there was nowhere to actually really to build.
What are they paying you, $3,000 to go move into a house?
To move over there, right? And
still not doing it.
It used to be a crazy situation because they were offering 100-year mortgage at one time for the same reason, trying to give affordability because they weren't doing a ton of building. So it was just making sure that the places were affordable. Because I might live in it, and then you, as my father, might live in it first, and then I move into it, and then Jack will move into it. So we're all kind of sharing that same mortgage, for 100 years for like a family. So I guess it's different kind of ways to figure out how you can to make.
I just think we need to be more creative to help people.
That's definitely creative. That half rent, half whatever.
Right. I think it's just a good way to go. It doesn't cost the council anything to maintain the property. I mean, they do inspect the property, to make sure that you're keeping up with it. And they make sure that, you keep up with your mortgage payments. But I just think there needs to be more help. I mean, there's a program here that you know about, the down payment assistance program, but that in itself is troublesome, to be perfectly honest. Everybody gets carried away with that, and that the down payment assistance program isn't really what people think it is.
Well, the biggest thing is,
and it takes so long,
is that it's not free. People think it's just free money, and it's not free. And all of them don't take a long time, but they do take some extra effort to do them. But I think it's more of just an education deal with it. I don't push or advertise on it, but if someone needs it, I'll offer it. But some people come in right out of the gates. Oh yeah, I'm a blah blah blah, and I, down payment assistance. I'm like, well, you could go that way, but looks like you got 20 grand in the bank. You could use your own money, get a much better rate, pay less fees, and kind of go from there. Because but folks don't really know. But
so, do you think it's right that landlords can raise the rent? I mean, in theory, they could double the rent. They could triple the rent if they want.
Now, it's to me, I think it would be asinine to double rent on a good paying tenant. But with the cost of everything else, man, like gas is up now. Food costs more. Rent would cost more because it costs more for a landlord. I mean, the property taxes go up on a property. I should be able to pass that on to the consumer or whoever.
With the properties that I've got, I'll get them to sign an addendum, which basically is a 3 to 5% increase per year.
Oh yeah,
which is basically
that's fair.
A non-nuisance. I call it a non-nuisance rent.
Right.
And that's all my tenants do that, and that helps protect me against different increases. But I like to feel that my tenants, I'm not going to insist that my tenants live in anything that I wouldn't live in myself.
Right.
But a lot of landlords don't think that way.
They don't. They just want to get the money.
It's all about cash flow.
Yep.
And to me, cash flow is second on the list.
Yeah.
And we have people that speak to us and they say, well, can you manage my property? When we do property management, and we manage the property, we tell them what the rates are and everything else, and they say, oh, you're too expensive. That indirectly, to be perfectly honest, then they call us up 6 months later and say, I'm just not making this work. Can you sell the property?
Yeah.
They don't know the local regulations. All that bothered is in the cash flow, and the way the prices are at the moment. To buy a property, you won't. If you're buying it as an investment, I don't think you'll make any money the first 3, 4, 5 years.
Probably not. Not like the money that you think you'd make.
And then people look at it and they say, well, I'd rather buy something on the stock market, or I'd rather buy Bitcoin, or whatever their fancy is. Anyway, so
all right,
it is what it is. Yeah.
So how about these big bank? Well, I say these big banks. So Wells Fargo has told its consumers that they are discontinuing all personal lines of credit. It's done. It's finished. They're shutting it down, and they will no longer offer this product. So if you had a line of credit that was open at Wells Fargo, you no longer have that.
What do you put that down to, James? You're in the finance industry. Why have they said that?
It's exposure. This is not the first time that they've exercised something like this. They back in after the credit disaster in 2008, they shut down lines of credit, and primarily it was to lessen their exposure or potential exposure thereof from people not having access to money or funds, and then going and driving up the balance on these lines of credit, and then ultimately it being an issue with them being able to get payback, because if folks start letting things go, or if they file bankruptcy or whatever, then they're on the hook for that debt. So they kind of got in front of some things and shut down credit lines. Looks like they're doing the same thing here. We got things that, I know we'll talk more about it, but you got certain things ending at the end of the month. So they're kind of getting ahead of cutting it off.
So let me give you a scenario.
Yeah.
Somebody owns a house, there's a little bit of capital in the house, there's a little bit of equity in the house, and they feel they're getting behind on their bills. Mm-hmm. So then they take out a line of credit to get the money up, because they probably know that maybe they're going to be foreclosed in, the future. Do you think that's what they're anticipating? That
they're trying to get in front of it, because when the lines of credit, just so everyone understands, it's like a big credit card that you get. So these lines of credit will be anywhere from $3,000 to $100,000, and based on some tied to collateral as being your house, some just signature lines of credit. But the deal with it is you would pay your interest only, or whatever the payment is, based on what you have drawn out. So if I have $100,000 that's available to me, and I only have $10,000 on it, I'm only paying on $10,000. But you don't ever have to go back and apply for a loan anymore, because that line of credit is just there for you to use it. The deal with it now is that because we know things are going to be changing with the forbearance moratorium being lifted, the eviction moratorium being lifted, all of those things going, it's eventually going to be a situation where folks are going to need to have their hands on some money. So in that case, rather than them being exposed and that they are trying to get ahead of the game and just cutting it off before the bleeding starts. And I'll say this, being on the stagecoach in the past, they are usually the ones out of the gate that kind of lead the charge. So they start with it.
When you say they, Wells Fargo?
Yes. Then the others will follow. You'll see Bank of America doing the same. You'll see Chase doing the same. So the big three, those guys will.
At one time, I sold foreclosures for Wells Fargo, and this is just my opinion, we're going to talk about the foreclosure moratorium, a little bit later on in the podcast, but there was a lot of bad publicity for all the banks when all these foreclosures happened. With robo-signing, just so everybody knows what robo-signing was. You buy a house at a title company and you sign a document to say that if they couldn't contact you within so many days, they could sign on your behalf. So people didn't even know that their house was being foreclosed. Well, that was outlawed, and I think it was Bank of America or Wells Fargo. They were fined, a lot of money at one point because of them robo-signings. That I really believe that I don't think if the housing market crashes, I don't think you're going to see it the level before. Everybody's saying, "Oh, you're going to get all these foreclosures." I really don't see it because of the bad publicity before.
Yep.
Banks are going to help people more. Banks are going to, if you're 4 months behind or even 12 months behind, they're going to put that on the back of the mortgage. They're basically going to
because they're already doing
a payment plan.
Absolutely.
You pay a little bit extra month.
Absolutely.
They're just not going to do it anymore. Because there was so much bad press on the banks.
It was our fault. They blamed the mortgage industry for it. And quite frankly, contrary to popular belief,
I'm Mr. Democrat, but I personally, although he was in a bad situation, I blame to a certain degree Obama because he put money into the banks, but it wasn't monitored. And then what happened was you had these senior executives basically taking the money, buying shares, and all
still
the
getting their
stuff.
bonuses and all that jazz.
Right,
Yeah.
while people were being put on the street.
Right.
So indirectly, that's what caused the bad press.
Yeah.
When people understood what was going on. And I don't really know the insides and the outs of whether Obama was, guilty for that, but I think he was generally trying to help. I mean, they put a lot of money into the car industry in Detroit, and I think that worked.
To his defense, he walked into a situation that had already been brewing.
I agree.
Yeah, it was already kind of in line, and those practices were already in place, and it just kind of imploded under his watch.
Right, I agree. And I think he did what he could, and he tried to do the right thing, but I just think it was implemented wrong.
Improperly, yeah, I agree.
But I really think the banks this time will be a little bit more sensitive to foreclosing on people.
Well, just so everyone knows,
I think evictions will come back.
Like we're
going to talk about that in a bit.
It costs money for a mortgage company to foreclose on a house anyway. So
they lose money.
They lose money. Yeah,
they lose money on
the best thing you can do is to communicate with them. Let them know what's going on, and to your point, they'll figure out ways to throw it on the back end, put a second lien on, because no one the mortgage companies don't want your house. It costs money to do that. They end up losing. So just make sure you don't shut down lines of communication.
I think what you're saying is really the fine point that people need to understand. If you're communicating with the bank, they will help you.
They will. They absolutely will.
The banks will genuinely, help you. I mean, I've been in a position where I've been, behind a little bit on some of my credit cards, and I've reached out to them. What did the bank do? They cut the interest rate. I had one, which just goes to realise just how these banks are. They was at one point they was charging me 17% interest, and in the meantime, the rates have come down anyway.
Right.
They reduced the interest rate to 2.9%.
That's a
just
win.
Because I called them and said I couldn't pay it.
Yeah.
Right, but
that's
I could. But basically, somebody told me to do it, and I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely do it because they would rather get some money,
but if I didn't ask for it, have a guess what?
Yeah, you're not going to get it. You wouldn't have got it. They want some money. That's better than nothing at all. But before we move on with this, one last thing I want to say about this whole personal credit line deal. I think the most egregious part about this is, and many folks don't know, when you lose access to credit, be closing an account or by yourself or somebody else, the business closing it on you, it will have a negative impact to your credit score. So if you got a $50,000 line of credit that you've had and now it's closed, then now you don't have access to that $50,000, and it will adversely affect your credit score. So those folks that are that have them, you can definitely be certain that you'll get one of those notifications that your credit score has dropped. So because it will have a negative impact.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's not right when the banks. You understand? Limiting it.
Yeah.
So are they stopping it or they're limiting it?
No. They are not going to offer this product anymore.
No more lines of credit.
Period. They're not.
And what happens to people that have got a line of credit?
They'll be closed.
Thank you, Wells Fargo, for your vote of confidence.
They'll be closed. And I'm telling you, we mark my word.
I've had a lot of bad experiences though with Wells
Chase and Bank of America will follow suit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they will follow suit. And we'll see. We'll see if they haven't already. They will follow suit.
I didn't realize they was stopping that particular product.
Yes, sir.
Not offering it anymore.
All right, we kind of mentioned it a little bit about July 31st being the D-Day for evictions. We don't know
the moratorium
if it'll be extended
31st.
again. But shoot, I mean, what do you do if you're in that situation?
Well, on one of my properties, we have one tenant that owes 8 months. They're 8 months behind.
Wow.
There's nothing that we can do. Now, what's the best thing we can do at that point? I mean, they've either got to pay a payment plan, or I don't quite know. I mean, it's something
So they paid nothing in 8 months?
Haven't paid nothing in 8 months, and there's nothing we could do about it.
Did they lose their jobs?
Apparently, they was affected by COVID.
Okay, she
was working at a high-end department store.
Uh-huh.
And and then she was basically laid off.
But the malls are open now. Is she not back?
They are, and supposedly, she's got back to work, but she's got a lot of debt that she's got to do. And so we've reached out to her, and we intend to do a payment plan. Haven't received. So we'll be getting on that shortly to get that done, because that actual landlord that we managed the property for, he's in China.
Oh wow. Okay.
We have a lot of overseas clients that we manage properties for, and he's been really good about the whole situation. He actually lives in Hong Kong.
Well, that's good. I mean, because you don't want to see anyone on the street, but I mean, you got to do 8 months.
Yep.
You couldn't have amassed one payment in 8 months. I mean, that's
what she's telling us. So
yeah,
it's difficult. So that's something we'll be addressing with her. We've been actually talking to her the last week or so to try and get some sort of.
Do you think she'll stay or she'll move out?
She might not have an option. We may have to, evict her. We don't want to put people on the streets, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day.
Here's what I do know. I know every person that was taking advantage of the eviction moratorium.
Which there were.
And
which there is.
Yeah, everyone was not in their lives weren't in disarray. They just were taking advantage of it. We
had one client that was behind on one of the properties that I owe. He was behind before the COVID.
Oh, well,
he was behind.
So his reputation preceded him then.
Yeah, and we got more money with help that he got because of COVID, and so we started to catch up a little bit. And now this is the first month, July, that he's got to pay, and now he's behind again.
Oh wow!
So I really think that's something that, to me, in that situation, I don't think that the moratorium should apply to people like that.
Yeah. If they were already late,
behind,
yeah.
I think they should be. I don't think the moratorium should.
No, I agree with you on that one.
We should have been able to evict them.
I know of an individual that there was a program that was available that was going to pay the rent for them through the city or county, whatever it was going to pay the rent for them. So they didn't pay. But when it all came down, I guess there was some type of verification or something through this program, and they found out that they had been working. So once they found out they had been working, it was kind of like, hey, well, you're working. Why couldn't you pay, some rents? So they had to pay that program back, the money that they were getting back. I say good too. It's like, man, you didn't need it.
Good.
You just took advantage of it. So
and I think that's what it's the few that ruin.
Absolutely.
The different programs which I think are done for the right reasons, but
it's to help.
People that abuse the system is really the people that need to be penalized.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Because some of these programs are good. I mean, we've had some churches that have paid for, people to help them out. So, there has been, some help out there. So anyway, at the moment we can evict people in Houston. We can file, but they can't physically follow through with the eviction apparently until July 31st. But we've also been told that there's a huge, long waiting list of evictions.
Oh wow! It'll probably be after the turn of the year.
But I don't think the evictions are going to lead to foreclosures.
No,
because the banks are willing to work with the landlords. All right. We've even had letters from one of the main banks on a property that we've got saying, don't bother paying your mortgage. We can put it on the back
end of it.
And we haven't done that, but it's something they're actually promoting.
Right.
So they're not going to do that. All right. And then, and that's the property actually that, we own, and they was behind initially. Then they used a program that caught them up, and now they're behind again.
Oh wow!
Because it's the 15th, and he was due on the 1st.
So that was a great segue, because the forbearance foreclosure moratorium is actually lifted last month. The 30th of June is when it was, but supposedly there's an amendment of sorts that gives an additional 6 months after that, in 3-month increments, for it to kind of continue, or for them to figure out some kind of payment plan or pay structure of sorts. So a lot of it will be in the forms of second liens, where they'll pay that extra amount as a separate payment, or, as you mentioned earlier, they'll just throw it on the back end.
And sort of also going on to that, in the event that there's a forbearance, or they're putting it on, the back of the loan and everything else. And one of the reasons why I don't think it's going to lead to foreclosures is because the rental market is so hot.
Right.
And so that in itself is going to keep the properties occupied and maybe get the cash flow going again, for some of the, for some of the landlords. The only landlords that I think are going to have a problem with that, to be perfectly honest, are the poor landlords that, aren't managing the property in a professional manner. And we've got some agents in the office that, are flipping properties, but that in itself, they've said that the cost of the properties that they were buying has just gone through the roof, that the numbers don't make sense because they've got to overpay for the properties.
Oh, wow.
And I do think that wholesaling has sort of made the market worse, because people think that they're getting a deal just that they're getting cash, but they end up paying more percent to sell to a wholesale. Anyway, are we moving on, Mr. James?
Yeah, moving on. So, Richard Branson in space, huh? This is first of all, Richard Branson's like 120. How old is this guy?
Hey, give him a. This is the guy that started a multi-million-dollar business out of his garage selling CD discs.
Hey man, I don't knock the hustle.
I like Richard Branson.
I will
I think
knock
he's a
the
pretty
hustle.
cool sort of guy.
We all know him, Virgin Atlantic billionaire. This guy. Now he's just riding around space, like it's going to the corner to pick up Starbucks.
You notice the Sir Charles, was it Sir Richard?
Sir Richard
Charles
Branson.
Nicholas.
Yes. Okay, so
It's disappointing space, John.
yeah, so I heard that I was going to say I saw an article that they said it was a bit disappointing. I don't know why it was disappointing because some folks even said, what's his name, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was saying kind of thing, was it even real?
It's a conspiracy.
Well, people are always going to have their idea of what they think it is, what it's about, but. That was one of the questions. Was it real? Because I think there was a shot of his people kind of floating around him.
Yeah. Well, it's like the definition of space. I think is
right.
What is being talked about here.
Well, I think 53 miles above the Earth is pretty spacey. If you
Well, in my opinion, I hope Jack brings up that. You get that link I sent you, Jack? Richard Branson. I wouldn't mind going to experience that. Look, here you go. Win yourself 2 seats on the first Virgin Galactic flights to space.
Okay, so this.
Now I know, James, you told me earlier on you wouldn't want to do this.
No, sir.
Why? Because you can't put a life jacket on.
No, the life jacket, that's not going to help you. I get paused driving down the freeway. I'm definitely not going to space. Pause. It's like, hey, man, I don't know. You're kind of concerned about it all. No, sir. I'm not doing that. I'll stay home. That's the first flight, I guess, as I mentioned before. I don't even like downloading the first version of any software updates. I like to kind of take my time and kind of roll into it.
I'll risk everything for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, leave me to...
Well, you will be.
Right. You literally would be.
I'm perfectly... Just to experience that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, imagine doing that and then getting hit from space debris from a fucking Chinese satellite from 5
Anything.
years ago.
You're done. It's a wrap.
I'll take it as long as I got a goodwill.
Oh, well, you would have to have a goodwill. Leave us the keys to the security
What I
code.
want to know is, if I was to go in there, would my life insurance cover me?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
That's what I think.
It only covers you on Earth.
Well, it's like you're probably signing documents when you go up there that if you die,
It's on you.
It's on you, and so the insurance company is probably going to say the same thing.
I'm certain of it. There's no way
Scroll down a
that
bit,
they
Jack.
roll into that.
So you and a friend, will go to space.
I want to go to space. I'll just smoke some weed or something.
If that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah, I need to get in the airplane.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's today? The 15th? So Bezos is going up on the 20th, right? I think
But there was a big
this month.
Yeah, but there was a big race on who's going to get
gonna
there
do it
first.
Yes. I think Bezos is going on the 20th, and then
Hey, Mr. Bezos, are you having a competition as well? Because I'll apply for yours as well.
And then Elon Musk is supposed to be going up shortly after that.
I want them both.
So
They're going to have a competition so we can apply.
Man,
Come on,
look,
let's do this.
It's crazy. I think I saw it in
Who
there.
can colonize
The 20th?
space first?
There it is. Along with Bezos and Damon, the 20th launch will carry Bezos' brother Mark and legendary aviation pioneer.
Screw his brother.
Wally Funk is 82 years old.
What's
Come
that?
on. He's bringing Wally Funk is the guy's name.
Yeah, but he was something to do with. He was one of the people that was on one of the first. He was on one of the first spacewalks, I think it was.
That's a girl.
Well, sorry, Miss Wally Funk.
Wow.
You are on the first passenger.
Yep, July 20th.
Yeah.
So that's the 52nd anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing.
Yeah,
if that ever happened, right? We
when he flew aboard the space shuttle Discovery at age 77.
John Glenn. Yeah.
Okay. So
John Glenn was the oldest. Now this Wally Funk
will
person
become the
will be
oldest person to ever fly in space.
Yeah.
The oldest to die in
Eclipsing-
space.
Okay. Hey, I'd risk it.
Well, it's I don't know. I have too much to lose, man. Here on Earth, where I just can't do it. I no thank you. I don't like to test God. I'm just kind of, I will stay here on earth.
Richard
and do my
Branson,
thing.
can I please go?
I'd rather die to the police than to Jeff Bezos.
I wonder how much they're charging for those if you wanted to pay to go.
I think they released a number.
Yeah, they did. Oh, it's
Because I know
hundreds of thousands.
I know Branson
of dollars.
is doing the little lotto giveaway or whatever, but I think if you pay,
That's not. There's no way. Right.
no, there's no
That's
way.
one person.
28 million, really? They're paying for the whole ride. It's like, shoot, that's ridiculous.
No. What I
The
see.
price tag, is that 2.8 million?
Yes, that's what it. Yeah, that was the. I'm sure it was around there. The price. Yeah, it's 2.8
Wow,
million.
2.8 million, man. I do a whole lot of other stuff with 2.8 million.
What do they call that on the seat? What they do is standby.
Oh, yeah.
Can I go standby?
You know what? We might not have enough room for you, but we'll just
Buddy
have a
seats.
seat.
They call it buddy seats or something.
Buddy passes.
Buddy passes.
Have a seat
Have you
until
got
we
a
call
buddy
your
pass
name.
for the that space thing?
Hey, buddy pass might cost you half, 1.4, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
Bidding system.
It's a what?
Bid. Online
Oh, it's a
bidding
bidding.
will
Okay.
continue until June 10th. Live auction will be held on June 12th. That was a couple days ago.
Does it say what the top bid was? I want the buddy seat.
Have a website.
Careers. You've got to laugh at America. Keep a sense of humor. That's what gets you through life.
I don't know. Neil deGrasse Tyson had some kind of holes to throw in it. But he's a little kind of a weird nut anyway. But I do like him.
Richard Branson?
No, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, okay. In a second, Richard Branson.
Yeah.
I think he's a pretty cool sort of guy. I think he's always been a bit.
He just says, you can call it space, may not call it space, but they were up there.
I just think he's a pretty.
It's innovative, I will say that.
It is.
And if they keep going up there, the price, of course, will come down because people will start buying tickets to go. And before you know it, hey.
I wonder if they're going to do them security checks when you go there.
Oh, TSA?
You got to go through the
live.
6:30.
No, it's 6:30 Central.
Central.
No. What is that? You got me. So I think that it'd be cool to watch. Yeah, Central Daylight Time. On the 20th, that'll be cool to watch. Are they charging for it though? Because I'm not gonna pay.
No.
8 o'clock. That's not bad.
All the tests.
That'd be cool.
I doubt they charge.
And Musk's doing the same thing.
So of course, this is dating myself. I can remember when Challenger went up. I was watching it on television. And
I will never forget.
I won't either. I remember where I was sitting.
What I was going to say was
thing exploded.
Well, I was actually driving to teach at an ice rink because we also managed the ice skating store shop down there, and I was driving down there in the League City area, and we looked up and we actually seen, it was just like smoke going across.
Yeah, that was kind of tragic.
I will never, ever, ever forget.
Because of course it was a live feed, and it's not like you could cut away so fast to say,
Whoops.
back to the studio. No, we saw that, man, and that was tragic.
We looked at it, and I was with my assistant at the time, and I looked and you're like, what is that? Is it a fireball? Is it a? Well, what is it? I mean, it's something.
I went to a Rotary meeting. I don't know why the hell I ended up at a Rotary.
I was about to say, what were you doing there?
Neither.
The guy who made the system that told them that it was malfunctioning,
that they shouldn't
was speaking there, and he said that they had failed like 4 or 5 tests,
several
the
tests
day before.
Yep,
and
they pushed it anyway.
They still decided to.
They pushed it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
I heard about that.
Totally preventable situation.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But you never heard nothing about that, did you?
They don't want you to. That's nasty.
Of course.
I mean, the truth is, like, there's so many variables in that.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, that was tragic though. That teacher, Christy McCullough or whatever, was up there. Anywho, how about your folks, man, walking out of the Capitol when they don't like what they're getting
Don't
vote on?
blame them at all.
They're walking out of there, so we're gonna take our ball and go home.
I don't blame them at all.
You don't blame them?
No.
Oh man, we're having a meeting.
I really think, and we'll sort of get onto this a little bit with later on. You know, there's something I want to talk about with sort of the Americans' view of different nationalities, but I do think there's a sort of racism issue from every side, you know. But I really don't blame them, because I think there's a lot of things that are being sort of pushed through, you know, by Greg Abbott, who I think is absolutely worthless. You know, and
Is he though?
I think he is worthless. I mean, look at the freeze that he put us in. You know, I think that does need to be addressed. There's people that really suffered from that. You know, we manage one property with that whole freeze, and you know, it caused maybe $36,000, and then the insurance don't cover all of it. You know, it was an absolute headache, and I do think it's something that could be avoidable in this day and age.
why would you drive through it? Let's talk about it. You know?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So instead of just saying they walked out for a reason. So
Yeah, it was voting, right?
It was
voting restrictions.
It was drive-through voting and 24-hour in advance.
And you know,
voting.
and what's the African American thing where they say go to church and come and vote? You have to do something for souls. There's an
What you talking about,
organisation
Willis?
out there that were pretty organised last year, where apparently it's called, I don't know, Vote for Souls or Soul for Votes or whatever it's called, and they was predominantly African American, and what they was doing was organising people to basically say, okay, when you go to church, then we'll go vote. And then it was released recently where in the bill it says, you know, you can vote after 1 p.m. on a Sunday. And now some of the Republicans are saying, oh, no. That was a mistake, and that it should have been 11 a.m.
As far as the timing to vote?
Yes. And they're saying, oh, no, that was a spelling mistake, really? You know?
Oh, now that I don't know.
I've got to bring this up. When I used to vote in the UK, I would walk in, do the vote, and walk out. First time I voted, I had to wait 4 hours to vote. And that was early voting. I mean, it was just nuts. It didn't make any sense at all. And, you know, in this day and age, I really feel that, you know, it should be easier for people to vote. How can we participate in a democracy if it's not?
But is it really that hard to vote now? Honestly,
But could it be easier?
it definitely could be easier. But we're talking about an hour. I think as far as some of the early
It was
voting,
24/7 before, 7 days a week.
An hour is a long time.
well, again, in certain areas, an hour means nothing. In those areas where the population, where you know the lines get backed up, an hour is definitely a long time. I can tell you in the county, we're in Brazoria County, but where we are, man, I go in and I may be in there 5 minutes. And I vote in just more than just a presidential election. It just doesn't take a long time if you have the systems set up.
There was comments made by Dan Patrick at the CPAC conference either yesterday or the day before, and the comments that he made was, if Texas goes down to a Democrat, all right, and if California go down to a Democrat, his comments were that they would never, ever, ever win another election.
You mean if they vote,
Texas
if they
votes
flip?
Democrat and flips to be Democrat, and California votes to be Democrat, then he could never see the Republicans winning another general election. And his exact comments were, that's not going to happen on my watch. All right? But the truth of the matter is, Texas is becoming more Democrat.
Is it?
I think so.
I disagree.
Houston is basically turning more Democrat.
Well, you got your large areas. You got your Houston,
Dallas is
all your larger
Dallas
cities.
is becoming Democratic, which I was surprised at because I've got a buddy in Dallas because I said to him, "Oh, you know, you vote Republican," just giving him a hard time, you know, and sort of laughing and joking with him. And then he turned around and says, "No, that's not true." And he sent me a photo, and I was surprised. But the rural areas are very, very Republican.
Well, there's a lot of them.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, but going back to the topic, what counties use 24-hour in advance voting and drive-through voting the most?
Your big ones.
The big ones, and the big ones are the blue
areas, right?
Areas.
Your Harris County, your Dallas County.
Yeah.
So, what do you gauge by that?
Man, I mean, it's there's so much time to vote. I'm kind of torn on it because I feel like if you make the effort to get out there to vote, you got time to do it.
Let me tell you another part that doesn't make sense with this. You can go vote and you can show ID, you can show a government ID, a gun license, all right, to vote. But you can't go and vote by showing a government-issued student ID. What's the sense in that?
The government doesn't issue student IDs.
Texas do.
No. School issues that. That's not government regulated.
But isn't it Texas registered? Isn't it Texas?
It is, but what's stopping me from printing off a HCC ID right now? I mean, I get what you're saying. That's a good point, but it's like
you can fake that.
It's just not. You didn't approach it the right way.
And I personally believe that people should show ID.
Right.
All right. I do think that that's important, but I do think there's other ways how that can, you know, be brought up. But I do think. Do you think that minorities are going to be penalized because of this?
No. And here's my problem with that. People are always speaking for minorities that aren't minorities. There was a video floating around about the ID piece of it and the access for minorities, so to speak, being able to do it. And they asked, in this particular video, it was some white people that they asked about, you know, do you think they're, you know, disproportionately affected for having ID? And they were like, yeah, they are affected because they don't have access to ID and they may not know where to get it and blah, blah, blah. And then the video flipped to where they were asking black people, hey, do you know what a DPS office is to get an ID? Oh, yeah, it's right there on the corner, blah, blah, blah. Or do you have an ID? And the lady was like, yeah, I got an ID. I mean, there's no problem. We can say that that's the reason, but ultimately, let's just call it what it is. It's control. It's a way for them to kind of funnel however they want it, whatever the narrative is. As far as the IDs, I think the control of you having an ID, now you should have one, period. But don't just say, oh, because they can't access it, we need to make sure that we can let them vote without an ID. I don't think that it's a problem with minorities getting an ID. It may be a problem with them transportation-wise and having the available hours to get there. If that's an issue, I get that. That's cool. Because if I know for for Houston, our public transportation system sucks. It's basically non-existent. So if you want to say, hey, people don't have transportation to get there in time because they got to work, yeah, man, make it later. You don't cut it off at 6 o'clock because they may get off at 5. Then they got to take the bus to get here. So cut it off at 7 or 8 or whatever the deal is. It's only, you know, a couple times a year that it happens. So, you know, make the resources available to do that. But I think they should be able to come to some kind of agreement without folks walking
I just sent you a link, Jack.
Yeah, and I think it should be as easy to vote as it is to go get a freaking large Coke from McDonald's.
It should be.
Like, you should have no second thought about having to go and just...
Because if they want participation, you've got to make it easier for people to do it.
Right. And I do think that drive-through voting made it easier for people. Some of our agents actually worked at Reliance Stadium, you know, because they needed people to help them with the voting. And one of our agents, Blanca, she said it was so easy for people to vote.
Drive-through voting is kind of.
He said they had to show ID. They had to have ID.
That's kind of dope. I mean, I don't got to get out of my car. It's just like when I got my oil change and I never had to get out.
He said it was very successful.
If it works, it works.
And that's the part that. This is what I want to sort of bring up.
This is ridiculous.
Have you heard about this?
No, I know, but I'm looking at the title. That's a long time. That is a long.
There you
time.
go. That's what I told you.
That's
And
a
what
long
happened with
time.
this guy is Texas man was
is that
arrested
at?
last week in Harris County. A Texas man was
Florida.
arrested last week for voting illegally in the Democratic primary last March. The state of Texas says Hervis Rogers was on a felony parole at the time and not eligible to vote in Texas. It is a crime to knowingly vote while still serving a felony sentence, including parole. There's also another lady, all right, that basically went to vote, all right, and she didn't have ID with her, and she asked the people at the poll station and said, I haven't got my ID with me. I live at this address, right, African American, and said, do I vote or not? And the people at the poll said, go ahead and do, there's a name for it, like a,
absentee or something, maybe,
and there's a different type of vote. So she filled it in.
or provisional.
Yeah,
Maybe
provisional.
vote.
They said, we'll check it to see if, we'll do that later. And yet she got arrested last week.
Why was she arrested though?
Because apparently she had
Was she?
been in prison at some time, all right, and she was basically on parole, and apparently she didn't know if she could vote or not, because they reckon at one time it was lifted, all right, for people that have been in prison can vote.
Well, it's changed. Funny enough, a program that Trump was involved in, supposedly, that first step was including of that felonies not being able to vote. That was being lifted. And there was still a date on it.
She had what was it where you have a jail sentence and it's like, is it parole where it's like they suspend it as long as you don't get in any other trouble. Right. Well, that's what she was on. But she got arrested, and now apparently she's facing 20 to 25 years for illegal voting.
Now that's ridiculous.
And then the other part with that really doesn't make sense is this: there was one Republican senator or whatever he was, and they found out now he's going to court where he voted for his dead father.
Okay.
And he knew, you understand? He knew, obviously, when he voted. And do you know what he got? He got a fine of $500.
And he voted for his father.
Who knew and died.
That's more egregious to me than the other two.
That's my point.
Right.
So, you've got them people that aren't, the people that, are asking, well, can I vote, can I not? Because I do think the situation that they are in, something like that, sort of a little bit cloudy.
Well,
you don't understand if they've been in prison. And so my opinion is, should they receive penalty? Yeah, I think they should, but not 20, 25 years.
No, I agree with that.
A monetary fine to me is...
I don't think you should receive a penalty for trying to vote.
I think if it was a mistake, hey, you did it, man, don't do it, man. You did it too early.
Do
just move on down the line. It's kind of like a warning ticket. You're speeding, they pull you over, and you were too early. Boom, that's what it is.
But the bottom line is, if the vote's not even counted.
Here's the ironic thing about that. So, as I understand it, and I'll have to verify it, but I've heard it before. When in areas where they have prisons, they take the head count of those prisoners to that's included in the official total, or whatever, when they're talking about representation in the House and the Senate or whatever. So those heads are counted in order for them to get. But those guys, they can't even vote. So you'll use them to go into the overall total for them to get an amount of how many people you're going to have represented in Congress or Senate or whatever. But they can't vote at all.
Do you think even if they're in prison, they should vote? You personally?
If you're in prison, I say, hey, that's a right that you lost your rights, you lost your freedom. then no, I don't think you should, because you're not in society.
For what reason?
Because you're not in society. You're not living in society
So even if that person's in prison, they haven't got a right?
Not while they're in prison. That's my opinion.
So I should be able to bend you over and just put it in your cheek.
Hey, if you're in prison, once you get out and you're part of society and you're tax-paying citizen again, by all means, yes.
And the part that's interesting about this man that waited for 6 hours, they got him on TV. So the local station, I think it was KHOU, whoever it was, they took a photo. They could see him in the back. So he got in there at 6:59. He waited 6 hours. So he voted at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then as he left, the crew got him, and was speaking to him.
Because he was the last voter.
He was the last voter who apparently they voted the last one in the state. And they turned around and said, so what are you going to do now? It took you 6 hours? He says, I've got to go to work.
Wow.
So he had got out of work, waited 6 hours, and that's one of the things that caught him out, because when they got him on TV...
And then now they're talking about arresting
him. And now they're on about carting him back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It doesn't make sense.
That is crazy.
So... I really think voting needs to be made easier, and you can argue whether it's the right thing for them to do or the right thing to do, and their civic duty and all the other stuff. But at the same time, we was talking about this earlier on, the two-party system, you're either one end of the plank or you're the other end of the plank.
Only two options.
And I was saying to you, in the UK, we don't get this sort of drama. And the reason why we don't is because there's 8 senior parties that all have seats in the Houses of Parliament, but there's actually 21 parties. And so that way there's more negotiation and there's more discussion that's more meaningful, in my opinion. And, unfortunately, I think it leads to what happens in the States, this two-party system. I think it's something that's got to go. I really do. That and the Electoral College. The Electoral College makes no sense.
We won't go into that one this time, but I disagree.
We'll talk about
with
it
that
in the
one.
future, I'm sure.
So I know we got a couple of other things we're supposed to hit, but before, I know we're approaching our time, but I wanted to just jump on this whole Karen issue quickly.
Oh, this is the part. This is the part I've been looking for.
Yeah, we can hit this one and then kind of wrap, I guess. So let's just watch. Let's just watch the madness, and then we can kind of, I guess, draw our own conclusions. Now, there was a couple of parts on it, but.
So why don't we sort of just we can watch it. Let's just explain that what allegedly happened or supposedly happened.
Yeah.
They go to Victoria's Secret, and African Americans in line, and apparently this crazy Karen decides to push this lady out the way, and then this African American lady wasn't having any part of it. Yeah. And so then this lady came trying to.
So here's the result.
Hit her. So
let's.
And the lady got a phone out.
Oh my God!
Hey, let's hit it back from the beginning, Jack.
Oh God! No, excuse. Now you are. Oh my God! Oh my God! Do you see this? Oh my God! I never thought nothing like this would happen to me. She just tried to run and hit me.
Okay, hang on. Why is she? She's crying now. It's almost as if
because the phone's out now recording her.
The phone's out, and the phone obviously was out before she even approached the lady and swung at her. But now she's kind of balled up like a 2-year-old on the floor crying, or supposedly crying, shall I say? So let's go. Move on.
You see her? You saw her, right? They all saw her. Oh my God! Karen had a breakdown. Ask your worker. She tried to hit me. Now I want security for you. Oh my God. You should have thought about that before you did what you did.
I didn't try to hit you.
don't even
This
feel real.
this lady apparently.
This do not feel real.
Okay, so here's my thought.
Okay, yeah.
Right now, while she's in this position, she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is my day off. I'm going to get fired from my job from whatever this is." Everything's probably going through her mind. I have tried to swing at this lady, try to hit her.
Well, she's a very popular lady. Oh, look, 1.8 million views.
Hey, obviously, this is very. People know who she is, and they got her name. It's like Abigail Eplick or some junk like that. I know Abigail is her first name.
And you know, with this, in all fairness, how can you put 685 thumbs down?
Well, I don't understand what the thumbs down. Maybe they just don't like the outcome.
Is it because they're proving a point?
Maybe so.
Y'all had to get security. She charged me. If I wouldn't have ducked, she would. Oh no, you just wanted security for me, right? I want security for you now. No. I want you to call security. Thank you. I just came to get my free panties. You know how you get to keep finding them.
I can't get my free panties.
And I got to pick up my Converse boots from Nordstrom. I don't know why this is happening to me.
All for a free $10 of a free
panties.
Oh, you wanna? Oh, yeah, she. I'm scared to even approach her. Scaring me. Like you gotta go postal.
There's a lot more of this on this first clip. I think.
Oh, here we go again. Look.
Go to the second one.
Yeah, go.
No.
She charged.
So that lady right there, the lady right there, the counter, she's basically trying to tell the lady with the camera, hey, just back away from her. What? What do you mean? Me back away from her? So go to the second one, Jack, because it gets even more ridiculous.
So I'm recording to protect myself.
So she fake passed out on the ground.
Can we talk about something with this that we spoke about earlier on? Right, we were saying, because regardless what ethnicity you are, we feel we had a discussion earlier on about there's black on white racism, there's white on black.
Right.
There was an instance
Right.
recently when a white person attacked and hit a 6-year-old boy, Haitian boy, at Las Vegas at the airport or whatever. And then also there's been issue of a black person attacking an 82-year-old Asian lady in New York, and it's all on video. Why do you think that them issues are coming up? And that was the question I asked you earlier on. And what did you turn around and say? You said, well, it all started with Obama, correct?
Well, I said that. What I said was a lot of the division started when, of course, we got Black Lives Matters. It started under that administration, but I think now it's just you can record everything. This stuff didn't just start happening. Yeah. This stuff has been happening. It's just now you can see it. It's more evident. I can record you and say, hey, boom. And here's the tragic thing about it. And I was going to save it for a little bit later. This lady, the black lady that's recording this, she's recording for her protection.
Absolutely.
She's recording so just in case.
Good
and I think
on her.
that's the tragic thing. It's like she's recording just in case it said that she did something else. And this woman, typically, you got your Karens, they're trying to record to catch you doing something wrong. Oh, they're having a party, barbecuing at the park, or he's bird watching. They're recording, others. But in this case, this lady is having to record so she can be protected, because if she had punched that lady in the face when she came at her, this would have been a completely different story. She'd have gotten arrested and locked up.
I agree.
And who knows?
So the point I'm getting to with this, I know that there's a lot of African Americans that thought that Obama could have done more. And I personally think Obama was a good guy. He tried what he could, but you're limited to what you can do the way the political system is because you've got that seesaw. Okay, you're either this end of the plank or that. People need to stop being that way. But it's difficult with two parties. But you say it started with him, and then when Mr. Trump came in power, do you think it was magnified?
Absolutely, because it gave people this false.
Because one's from, the point I'm trying to say is one's from, it's not a case of whether you're Republican or Democrat.
No.
There's nothing to do with that.
It gave people this idea that it was okay to speak up and just say how I felt. And because he would just spout off and say whatever he was thinking, regardless of whose feelings that it hurt, people that were before holding their tongue, it just kind of gave them a platform. Oh, I'll just say whatever I want to say. The president's doing it. I'll say whatever it is that I want to say. It's no big deal. So folks just started, not that they just started feeling that way.
Plus they get wrapped up in, freedom of speech.
Yes.
And then it becomes a political issue.
Absolutely.
And then obviously I do think what has added to this is cameras with video.
That's it.
So now it's Seymour, just like we're looking at it now.
We're looking at it now. Everybody can see it right now. Boom, I can record it and put it up on YouTube.
It's sort of backing it up. And I don't believe it's necessarily a case of black on white or white on black. I do think that racism has been under the carpet in America for many years. And I do think that America, I think I told you the story a couple of weeks ago when I moved into my house, my local house. Somebody
neighbor
ran over the house and said, "Are you moving in the house?" And he used two slurs, which basically meant, "Are you?" And because he knew I was the real estate agent as well, and Jack was in the car at the time, and if he remembers, and he basically turned around and, who bought the house? Are they an N? He used the N word, or you? And he used a slur word for a Hispanic, and. The first thing I thought was, well, what type of area am I moving into? We have a saying in real estate where you can pick your house, but you can't pick your neighbors.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's prevalent. It's definitely prevalent. In this case, I don't know whether this lady meant it or not, but this is the way it's coming off. I wanted to see she kind of goes around
and then she charges again.
Yeah. Look at her.
I feel like at this point, it's just she's going for the shock factor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and let me ask you a question as well. If this was a 2-year-old, what would you do to your 2-year-old?
I'll take my belt out and whip him.
Look, here we go, charging again. Let's chase you around Victoria's Secret for free panties.
Get away from me, she's saying.
And she's coming
You're chasing me.
Look at this.
Really is crazy how some of these adults.
And
it was comical. It's like, really?
And it's difficult. You think of being in the position of one of the assistants in there. If the assistant touches somebody, then it's assault.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, we have people believe it or not, we have people come into the restaurant and act like this all the time.
Really?
Oh, it's once a week. Like it's
wow.
And honestly, we love it. Like we love it when they come in and do that.
Come in and act a fool?
Because it's like you get to see it firsthand. And I told them next time someone does it, I'm pulling a camera out and I'm getting fired. I'm like, yo, you're acting like a fucking idiot, and I will get fired because I don't care.
Oh my God.
She's yelling at the top of her lungs. Get her away from me.
I want to know if there's any policy that Victoria's Secrets have to handle a situation like that.
Probably just ask her to leave.
But they actually
man's racist.
They didn't ask her.
Jack found
yeah, no, this happened. This is recent. You see, July 6th. But this is what people my age do on the internet when we encounter people like this.
Oh yeah. Come on outside. Say what you were saying.
So what happened to this, Jack?
Okay, so this guy, I saw that video. Yeah. This guy, he basically was dropping all the slurs on, do this. Oh yeah, come on, bring it. Come to my house, blah, blah, blah. So you know what? They showed up at his house and they were telling him, come on outside, bro. Come outside. You keep that same energy that you were talking about earlier and come on outside.
See if we can find the video.
They didn't have it a part of that one?
That's it's right.
Oh, that might be
New
it.
information on the video that's gone viral. The South Jersey man captured on camera delivering a racist tirade remains in police custody.
Get these fucking monkeys out of here, and you can't do.
Monkey
That man
N-words
right
out of
there,
here.
Edward Cagney Matthews, will spend the next few days in the Burlington County Jail. He's facing charges after that video surfaced of him unleashing racist epithets at a neighbor. Our Joanne Pileggi back live in the Mount Laurel neighborhood where this all went down.
Station today.
All right, well, that's a satisfaction to be able to give to the people that he was in fact arrested. He is currently awaiting a hearing, but we don't intend to stop there.
Get these fucking monkeys out of here, and you can't.
Activists say Matthews is alleged
So
to have
yeah, he did
returned.
that, and then everybody showed up to his house.
And I think he's recording himself. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
even if you feel that way, can you understand? I mean, say what you want in your house, but my word, there's a camera in front of you, dude. Wherever you go. Here's my problem with this whole this latest deal. Have you heard the name Emmett Till?
No.
Okay. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old black child from Mississippi who was accused of basically offending a white woman at a grocery store. Now, supposedly, I think he was born in Chicago, and he was going down to visit his family. He was going down to visit his family down in Mississippi, and she accused this kid of, I think, whistling at her or something along those lines, and they lynched him. They beat him, and they lynched him.
When was this?
This was back. He died back in the 50s. And this is back in the 50s. But they killed this kid after beating him and shooting him or whatever, and hung him from a tree, based on what this woman said happened to her, which supposedly never happened. So I'm saying that to say, even in today's world, that woman, Abigail, she's weaponizing her tears and her the sadness to make it seem as if someone did something to her against this black woman, and no one did anything to her. But if she had hauled off and hit this lady or did something, to her, it could have been a completely different story with this woman in Victoria's Secret. And that's the kind of stuff that has happened in the past, and there was no one to answer for that. And this woman going all her life until up to the time that she died, knowing that this kid didn't do this to her. 14 years old.
Wow.
He probably slept at that night
like a baby.
Yeah,
Slept like a baby.
One of the points I just want is one of my old assistants came in one day, and she turned around and she said she'd been to Max, was it, or TJ Maxx?
TJ Maxx.
And basically she came in and she was in line, her and her mum, and her mum's an older lady, and basically a white lady had come in and pushed her out the way. Well, my old assistant weren't going to take that. Jasmine.
Yeah.
She basically sort of started giving this lady a hard time and said, look, don't push my mum like that. Pushed her out of line and tried to go in. Anyway, then one of the managers came up. That's why I say, what's the policy on a situation like that? And Jasmine and her mum got banned from TJ Maxx because they did nothing but defend the situation.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing happened to the lady?
Nothing happened to the lady. She's still going to TJ Maxx and shopping.
See, that's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. That's where we live. That's where we live. And of course, I don't want to beat a dead horse with
although it's brought, I think the phones and cameras have brought the situation to light.
It has.
Just like it has with the police, to be perfectly honest. Sometimes I think the police pull you over, and they've got to have suspicion to pull you over.
Right.
But sometimes that doesn't happen.
Supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly.
Supposedly.
Like when they shot that accidentally.
Supposed to tase him and they shot him.
He got pulled over because.
Now, mind you, he might have had tickets and warrants or whatever, but you didn't know that.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for another day. But that's something.
Shoot, actually, I don't know. We could go on and on about that because it seems like every day
the police are in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And actually, not to go. Like
the cops?
Yeah, I think going forward, you're not just going to. Cops are.
Well, maybe they'll start making some changes then. Once everybody else start getting shot,
they need to.
They'll start making some changes.
They need to. And we'll talk about, let's call it the black chat. Remember we spoke about the conversation you have with your kids?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about.
We got a couple things we didn't hit, but we'll keep them on the list for next time.
Absolutely. We'll sort of move on and because I know we've covered a lot today.
Yes.
But so the Haitian president being assassinated. What's your scoop on that?
Man, honestly, I mean, people get tired of.
Shocking, really, isn't it?
People get tired of stuff, and eventually.
And apparently, it was a group of people that was organized in Miami.
That doesn't surprise me. Haiti's right off, right there. So
I was shocked when I heard about this because they went to his home and shot him 12 times. His wife was shot as well.
Well, here's the thing. I would assume that there's some type of protection for the Haitian president. So this may be an inside job. So whoever is head of security, if they're not in custody, they should be in custody soon because.
And they've reached out to Biden to get involved.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I heard the other day. Do you think that's something that we should be involved in? Or?
Man, it seems like we have our hands in everything now. Anyway.
I don't think we should.
It's like we're the police of the world. It's none of our business, quite frankly. But
that's something that perhaps that the UN need to get involved in personally.
Possibly. I mean, if Haiti is are they even paying into the UN? Who knows?
I don't know. But I do think it's but I think it's very, very sad when especially with I think his daughter got away because she hid in a closet or something. But
so apparently I think they went in under the guise of some U.S. DEA enforcement agents and got into the place, but they were foreign mercenaries. So that may be why Biden is involved because a DEA spokesperson came in and said, "Hey, that wasn't us. We didn't go in." Do anything like that, so they didn't go in on our behalf at all. But
the
deal with it, the people,
of Colombian suspects in Haiti assassination.
The people that were supposedly guarding him, none of them got killed, or even hurt. Shall I say? No, none of them got hurt at all.
That's a bit suspicious.
That's very suspicious. At least take out one of the hey Bruce. We're going to have to shoot you, man, but we're going to take care of your family. I promise you. There'll be something. It's like, my goodness. Y'all just going in there just rookies. You got to make it look real. Come on.
And I think it looks bad on America if U.S. helped train a small number of the Colombian suspects.
Oh, yeah. Our hands aren't clean, bro. I mean, we might not have pulled the trigger on that deal, but if something came up, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, America needs to start being a bit cleaner about it.
Yeah.
We're the world leader and the number one in democracy. Then we need to sort of.
There's only one thing we're a leader at, and it's developing terrorist organizations.
Yes. Same thing happened with Al Qaeda. One time, what did we do with Al Qaeda?
Gave them guns.
Gave them guns.
They were old guns. Hey, y'all don't get the 2020 versions. We're gonna give you these 2010s. But go ahead and use those.
Then they turn up and use them against us.
Exactly. But I guess we'll find out, how our involvement goes with that as we move on down the line.
Pretty amazing. And then obviously some of this near to, Haitian, I believe it is anyway, Cuba.
They're all over there in the same area.
So with Cuba, I mean, what food shortages and all sorts of stuff. I've actually got somebody, my new assistant who works for us. Her her husband is actually Cuban, and they were saying that they're having a lot of problems. A lot of food's always been not good.
Well, I've talked to Miguel about some of the situations over there, and he said it's been in disarray for a while.
Yeah.
And I know.
But the interesting part was when I spoke to my new assistant, she was saying, believe it or not, it was better under Fidel Castro. It was starting to get better when Castro was there, but when the brother took over, it's like he didn't want the job. So it just got gradually worse. And then the brother put it to one side, and now this new guy's in there. Now it's totally and utterly unworkable. But I've got to be honest, I'd like to go to Cuba personally, but I don't know how I'm going to eat. But apparently they've got these 1950s cars.
They do.
And
the taxis are there. So my cousin, when Obama had opened up the flight, for a while.
I just want to go see the 1955 cars.
She said we got pictures. All the cars are from the 50s, but stuff is expensive there. In the main areas right there. But if you go, of course, into the country, things are less expensive, but of course you get less quality of life. I think she said there wasn't even inside plumbing where she was.
There's a hole in the floor?
She basically, you just had to kind of
put it in a bucket and throw it on
cold water, showers. It was, the way she described it is that she wouldn't do it again. It was beautiful. But she said she wouldn't do it again.
I don't think I'd do it personally at the moment. No. Not if there's no food.
I'll tell you what, our involvement in that piece of it, because it's so close to Florida, it's gonna be, and there's a huge Cuban community in Florida, that Miami area.
Well, they were protesting the other day about the whole thing in support.
Yeah, so there's gonna be some. I'll tell you, if Biden wants to, keep his foothold in that battleground state of Florida, he's gonna have to get involved in that piece with Cuba. That's my opinion.
But that's one of the things that's the seesaw effect of the political system at the moment. Obama opened it up, and Trump
closed it
down again.
Yep.
So where's the consistency in all of this? That's the problem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then there is another argument on how much should America really help these people?
Right. Because we have our foot.
And then the other day, what did they announce? They announced that please don't immigrate to America.
By sea.
You're not welcome, sort of thing.
It was by sea, is what they were saying. So, which is crazy to me. You can come through on the border, but by water, if you come by sea, you're not welcome. Don't risk your life, or something is how he said it. Don't risk your life coming to America by sea. You won't be welcome, which is...
Yeah, that's another thing we need to talk about in the future, is the whole immigration problem in relation to, how do we deal with the borders? And I dug up the numbers in the week, and the strange part is for expats, Mexico is one of the number one countries where people want to immigrate to.
It is.
So,
it is. Yeah.
Which way are they really going?
So I got a suggestion. I know we got this last item. I think that's going to take us a bit of a discussion. Because you and I have some very differing opinions.
Do you want to save that for another time?
Save that one for the next. I think so.
But I think we should add something to that. I'll tell you what that is later.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that, because I know it's sort of gone on.
Yeah, I have my thoughts about that. And, of course, and
I'll dig up some statistics.
Yeah. I'm with it. I am with it, man. Cool.
So we're good.
This has been good, man.
Good for another week.
This has been good. Good information. Good thoughts.
Just before we sign off, what's your prediction for future
for the NBA Finals?
Real estate.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to want to say one thing when you mentioned NBA Final. Why is it with basketball and baseball? It's a world championship.
My wife asked that question.
And then
because
and America's the only country that's participating. I want to see, and yet when they go to Olympics, all right, they don't win it all the time. Isn't that strange?
Not in basketball. Basketball, we're the number one.
We have not lost basketball in God knows how long.
Yeah.
Although they lost 2 exhibition games. But the deal is, the reason why that, and I explained this to her as well, we are open for participation from these guys from all these other countries to play in our league. They bring their best players over to the United States, and they come and they play in our organization. It's world champions because, hey, you don't have a league, so I'm the world champion.
But you're limited to how many foreign players you can have, because there's only so many teams.
Well, you can have. I mean,
You can have 100 foreign players.
Yeah, you can have there's a lot of foreign players. As a matter of fact, the team that they lost to in Nigeria.
So it's America that's determining that it's the World Championship.
Well, it is because their participation is there. The Nigerian team for basketball consists of all NBA players.
Yeah.
They're all NBA players.
You can have a perfectly.
But you shouldn't be able to announce that you're the World Championship without a world organization saying.
Do you have your own organization?
Olympics is
But that happens every The only
Olympics
other,
is an international organization.
The only other professional sports organization with the league is the Europeans. But the
UEFA is basically.
Well, we let them come and play with us.
Is it an international association? Okay, the American soccer team, right? You know, the American soccer team, they play in an international, within an international organization, CONCACAF.
But isn't that called a world? Isn't there a world championship for the soccer team as well?
Yeah, which is played under FIFA, one of the most corrupt organizations out there.
I think it's because.
You see what I'm saying? But America plays in CONCACAF, which is basically North America and South America.
Well, we're talking about different sports.
Right.
What difference it make with sports?
Because there's no other leagues for football, like actual American football, basketball, and baseball.
It's only the one organization for each.
That's not true.
Where else in the world can you go? Where
there's an American football league.
Where else?
In England.
And it's not very good because we've never heard of
it. It isn't very good.
That's why.
But the point of the matter is, if it's a world championship, it should be an international organization overseeing that sport.
Not if I'm the boss. If I'm the boss and I bring all the money to it.
Baseball hasn't been won by America in the last Olympics and the Olympics before that.
But the baseball organization is very diverse.
Apparently was pretty high. I don't know. I haven't checked, but I think Japan was.
We get a lot of people from Japan.
It's very diverse. Baseball is very diverse when it comes to other countries.
And South Americans.
Yeah, varying countries that come. So that's ultimately why we've got the organization. Until you get an organization that rivals ours, we're going to be the world champions.
Yeah.
Period.
There's literally no competition. That's
zero.
The answer. There's just not competition. Now,
so I can call myself universal champions if I want to.
So how do you promote the sport if you're the world champion all the time? Internationally.
The sport is obviously promoted. As you say, there's one in a league over there that's American football, which is probably made up of either ex-football players from here or military people that are over there.
American football is a growing sport in Europe. I think they're called the London Lions.
They had the World League over there at one time, I think, is what it was. But again, it doesn't rival the NFL.
But they shouldn't call it football. They use their hands 80% of the time.
They gotta walk. They gotta run the ball somehow.
They gotta run it. Yeah.
Well, use your feet. That's proper football.
That's what they do.
Right.
They do use their feet.
That's called. Over here they call it soccer. It's like no, that's football.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that.
Anyway, good fun. All right, guys. Well, have a great week. I was actually the way I got onto that. I was talking about what do you think the real estate market's going to do the next week, 2 weeks, maybe a month.
More the same. I think it'll be.
I don't think any change. Do you think it's going to peter out? Do you think it's going to flatten off?
Nope, not right now. There's no benefit for it to stop now.
Another year.
Yeah, I think we'll ride this for a while. Make the money while you can.
And you think interest rates will stay down?
Yep, they'll stay right where they are.
But I noticed new home prices haven't dropped, and
they're not going to. They're not going to.
Timber prices are down 40%.
They're not. They won't go down. All right, thank you guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Remember, our information is down below in the description if you want to reach out to us, and we look forward to you joining us at the Olympian Table next week.
You bet. Take care, guys.